All right, so today we were talking about the documentary Norway Massacre, The Killer's Mind, and some psychological issues that stood out to me. So basically, this documentary focuses on Anders Bering. I don't know how to say that last name, and the terrorist attacks he carried out in Norway on July 22nd, 2011. Basically, during those attacks, he first detonated a bomb in Oslo that killed 8 people. Then he traveled to the island of Utah, where he spent about 90 minutes shooting young people attending a summer camp. So in total, 77 people were killed, making it one of the deadliest attacks in Norway modern history. The biggest psychological issue I noticed with Breivik's, I think that's how you say it, Breivik's extreme lack of empathy is that throughout the documentary, experts explain that he didn't show any remorse for his actions, uh, but instead he believed it was actually justified. Uh, so rather than seeing his victims as innocent people, he viewed them as enemies. Because of his political beliefs, that mindset made it a lot easier for him to commit the crimes without feeling any remorse or any guilt or anything like that. Um, this shows how dangerous it can be when someone completely dehumanizes other people. And then another issue discussed in the documentary is narcissism. Breivik appeared to believe he was more important than everyone else and saw himself as someone carrying out a mission that could change society. Instead of accepting responsibility for murdering all those innocent people, he tried to portray himself as the hero, or like picture that image, put that image in other people's like head of him as a hero. I think an example of this is how someone can develop unrealistic sense of self-importance while ignoring the consequences and reality of their actions. One scene that stood out to me during the documentary was when it explained Breivik disguised himself as a police officer before arriving in Utah. So the teenagers at the camp, they trusted him because they thought he was here to help after the bombing in Oslo. But instead, he used that trust to get close to the people before opening fire. I think this shows how much planning and manipulation went into the attack, rather than it being, rather than it being something done on like instinct and just like reaction or impulse. And then another fact mentioned in the shooting on Utopia lasted around. Oh, another fact mentioned that it lasted around 90 minutes. So during that time, many victims like hid. They tried to escape by swimming away or waited for other help to arrive. The amount of time that the attack lasted demonstrates how carefully it had been planned and how devastating the psychological trauma was for the survivors, and not just the physical injuries. I also think the documentary highlights the difference between the mental illness and being criminally responsible. While there were debates about Breivik's mental state, the evidence presented shows that he spent months preparing the attacks, writing about his beliefs, getting weapons, carrying out his very detailed plan. Um, so the level of planning that he put in makes you believe that he knew what he was doing, even if the beliefs were extremely unorthodox. So basically, overall, the Norway massacre demonstrates how extremist ideology, narcissism, and lack of empathy and careful planning can combine to create something dangerous in a very dangerous person. The documentary reminded me that understanding criminal behavior is important because it can help identify warnings before tragedies like this happen. It also shows that acts of mass violence affect not only the victims and their families, but an entire country in the long term. Yeah.